This is Geek News Central. My name is Todd Cochran, coming to you from the new media production studio. The lead stories are NBC gets aggressive with YouTube TV. Google puts Apple on blast like a big crybaby. Google.com at 23 years. Democratic lawmakers say Facebook must abandon Instagram for kids. I want to welcome you to episode 1557 of the Geek News Central podcast for Monday, September 27th. This show is sponsored in part by GoDaddy.com and listeners just like you. Great deals from GoDaddy can be found at geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy. You can support this show today at geeknewscentral.com/insider. Hey, I want to give a warm welcome to all the new listeners of the show. Thanks for being here. Thanks for checking the show out for the very first time. We want to make sure that you're all locked in and able to stay subscribed to the show. And to do that, or get subscribed to the show, in order to do that, you go over to geeknewscentral.com, get on the website, and subscribe. Subscribe to the podcast. It's real easy to do so right on the right column of the website. There's some links there. Subscribe to Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, Amazon Music. Subscribe by Android, iHeart. Lots of options for you. And, of course, there we go. Now it's updating, so I can do what I want to do. Yep. And so anyway, get subscribed to the show. And, of course, the newsletter. The newsletter contains everything we'll talk about today during the show. You can subscribe to that a little further down on the page. But, of course, check out all the great shows listed on the website as well. The New Media Show, The Gadget Professor, GNC Week in Review. Those are all podcasts that you can get connected with here. We definitely want you to do so and do that. But, of course, you can always join our chat room at geeknews.chat, geeknews.chat, or on our Discord channel or server. That link is available in the show notes as well. Of course, you can contact me via email, geeknews@gmail.com, or at geeknews on Twitter. And, of course, you can follow me on Facebook. That makes it easy to stay abreast of what's going on with me socially. Again, this show is sponsored by the longest-running continuous sponsor of a podcast. That's our good friends at GoDaddy. And we definitely want you to support our sponsor. It's critical for the ongoing health and well-being of the show. And you can get great deals from GoDaddy by going over to geeknewscentral.com/GoDaddy and picking up a GoDaddy product or service, whether it be a new .com for $4.99 for newer transfers for new customers only, or $1 a month economy hosting for the first year with a free domain, or $1 a month managed WordPress hosting for the first year with a free domain. Again, two great deals in hosting. As a matter of fact, they are the best deals absolutely available anywhere on the internet and in the known universe. So $1 a month economy hosting for the first year with a free domain, and $1 a month managed WordPress hosting for the first year with a free domain. Or you can get a free trial of GoDaddy website builder, your choice of personal, business, to business plus plans. And if all else fails, you can use that 30% off code at GoDaddy as well. So there's ways to save. When you go over and pick up GoDaddy products and services, we want you to use all of these codes that are applicable to the products you may be buying. That 30% off code comes in handy on a variety of additional add-on services. Again, these are for new product purchases that you're making over there. And those hosting deals, those are not just one and done. You can do 2 managed WordPress websites, 3 or 4 or 5. They all are $1 a month, and you get a free domain for the first year. And what a way to get started with an online business. But anyway, your support of GoDaddy really allows us to do what we do here at geeknewscentral.com. Pays for the writers, pays for the electricity, pays for insurance, all the stuff that I do. Replacement of gear that gets old, you name it, takes care of it. And I want you to think about our sponsor. If you're supporting the show, when you pick up a product or service over there, it's just like writing a check. Just like writing a check to the show. Now, you can always do that, too, by becoming an insider, but we definitely want you to support the sponsor first. So we'll thank GoDaddy for being a longtime sponsor here at Geek News Central. Lots going on. It warmed up a little bit over the weekend. Not quite. It was almost on the edge of shorts and pants, so I guess A bunch of rain still on Saturday morning, and then it got nice to Saturday afternoon. Sunday was beautiful, and I went out into our 80 acres of woods, and we'd had our lumberjacks back there cutting down about 100 or harvesting about 100 and I don't know 150, 160 trees, and it's there. So in other words, there's that many tree tops there because they only take the logs, and I went back and really just more or less collected firewood. I didn't have to cut too much, but I cut it and picked up a trailer's worth load and brought it back to the house so that we can have a little bit of firewood for some, fall fires, I guess, for what little pit fires, bonfires, whatever you want to call them. Not really enough wood for a bonfire; those get out of control anyway. So these were pit fires. So fired up the pit last night for a little bit, which was nice. Of course, I worked on the podcast awards as well, so that week will continue. That work will, matter of fact, it's continuing now as we fast approach Thursday at 9 p.m. when the podcast awards ceremony is. So that's what's going on. If you're watching live on any of our streaming locations, whether it be Twitch, Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, make sure you say hello, check in and say hi. Definitely want to hear from you. Lots to do here. Lots to do. Lots of articles tonight. Kirk has been nailing it out of the ballpark and finding a good, healthy amount of content. I am Red Bulling it a little bit. Still, I mean, it's kind of weird. It's like about 5, 6 o'clock at night, I kind of hit the wall for a little bit. And then 7, 8 o'clock, I start to come out of it. It's just very strange for me. I never really ever hit the wall before. Maybe. Maybe my lack of hair getting gray has something to do with it. But Red Bull to the rescue tonight. So, I have to laugh. Any of you that have raised kids, but Dad, Joey's doing it. It's okay. How come I can't? We've all heard that, right? Well, Google is being like whining to a parent. Google is putting Apple on blast as it disputes its $5 billion European Union fine. Google says it can't be anti-competitive with Apple around. So it's kind of like, nah. So they're in court disputing the $5 billion fine. And of course, the EU court has ruled that Google is using its dominant position to promote and require its own apps and services on Android phones. And Google says that the court's decision ignores Apple's presence in the marketplace because it's true. And in all honesty, because Google has a set amount of apps that's delivered with every Android device, and so does Apple. They have a even load. Now, the only difference is Apple builds their only devices that are sold, and Google doesn't. Google has many other companies that build Android phones, but yet, in order for people to use the Android operating system, they're forced to install the plethora of Google apps. Now, knowing a little bit about this, it's part of the reason that Google has been slow, and Android specifically, to deliver on the device a dedicated podcast app that's delivered with the phone. So they've kind of worked their way around to try to get something that was close, but every Android phone that's delivered doesn't have a Google Podcast app by default. You get Gmail, you get Google Maps, you get Chrome, you get the handful of Google apps. So Samsung puts its own load of additional apps on as well. And so does every other company that makes mobile devices. And some of these companies do not want all that Google stuff on there, but they have to have it. Google says the commission shut its eyes to the real competitive dynamic in this industry that's between Apple and Android, but defining markets too narrowly and downplaying the potent constraints imposed by the highly powerful Apple The commission has mistakenly found Google to be dominant in mobile operating systems and app stores when it is in fact a vigorous market disruptor. Well, let's really kind of say here what this is really happening. Let us not forget that in the United States, the split is 50-50, near enough. But the rest of the world is many more Android devices than many more Android devices than Apple devices. Why? Money. Most people in third worlds, and I hate to characterize it like this, I should say many people cannot afford an Apple phone. They can't. They have to go, and if they wanted one, they still can't afford it because the cost is too high. So they go for Android devices, which if you go to any mobile store, T-Mobile, AT&T, Sprint, well, Sprint's gone, Verizon, and you go in and what do they have? They have a plethora of Android devices at all price ranges. Nothing near the selection that Apple has, obviously. So Apple has this very narrow selection of phones, whereas you can pick from 25 or 30 or 40 different Android devices. So, being the fact that Google can allow or forces OEMs to put certain set of apps in there, this is where they've come after them for this $5 billion EU fine. Now, do they have a right to cry about this? Well, hard to say. But Google has implemented several changes in how it bundles apps and allows forked devices. However, it seems though Google will need to make a stronger case for itself and Apple's role in the market if it wants to avoid paying the $5 billion. And again, this is just from a finding back in 2018. What comes next if they continue their practices? That's the question. Today, Google turns 23. The Google Doodle celebrates the search engine's 23rd birthday. So that's pretty amazing. It's been 23 years since Google.com launch. And little did we know. If you think about that, this show has been in existence for 16 years. In a few short weeks or a few short days, this show actually turned 17 years old. And Google was only around 5 years before this show established. But even by 2004, when this podcast launched, Google was pretty prominent, pretty eminent. Now, Yahoo still had some skin in the game at the time. But really, they were very, very quickly losing traction to Google, even those early years. But a lot of people made a run against Google, but they've just built a machine that is too mammoth. Hey, Timothy, thanks for checking in. Thanks for saying hello. Thanks, appreciate you being here and watching the show live. So, Facebook has said that it was pausing work on Instagram Kids. And that doesn't seem to be enough. Democratic lawmakers say Facebook must completely abandon Instagram Kids. They say the company's recent announced pause is insufficient. So what exactly did they say? Senators Ed Markey, Richard Blumenthal, and Representative Kathy Castor and Lori Trahan says Facebook's decision to halt development is insufficient. Facebook is heeding our call to stop plowing ahead with plans to launch a version of Instagram for kids, but a pause is insufficient. Facebook must completely abandon this project. Now, Facebook said it was suspending the work on Instagram Kids after the Wall Street Journal published a report that claimed the company ignored its own research on the harm apps like Instagram can do to young people. And of course, the company quickly refuted the piece, saying its study showed young people could have both positive and negative experiences interacting with social media. And the company will have to answer questions on its research later this week when the Senate Commerce, Science, and Transportation Committee holds a hearing on the matter on Thursday, which should be fun to report on Thursday night. So I think I agree with this. I don't think there should be an Instagram for kids. I really don't. It starts this cycle. And I really think it's a bad idea myself. So I'm hoping that they do abandon the platform. But if they don't, someone else will. NBC has gotten super aggressive in a YouTube TV dispute. NBC Universal says 14 plus channels could disappear from the service. And they're putting a warning across YouTube. They're saying YouTube TV customers, YouTube TV may drop 14 plus channels, including NBC, and it goes through the list if YouTube doesn't renew. Here's the thing. NBC and other markets. Well, let me read the warning to you first. This is funny. Attention YouTube TV customers. The banner, which runs roughly every 10 minutes, reads, YouTube may drop 14 plus channels, including NBC, Telemundo, USA, Sci-Fi, Brave, Auction, Embassy, CNC, NBC Golf Channel, and E. Go to youneedchannels.com and tell YouTube TV not to drop your favorite channels. NBC warns that regional NBC sports networks may also be affected. Include NBC Sports Bay Area, NBC Sports Boston, NBC Sports California, Chicago, Philadelphia, SNY, and NBC Sports Washington. Well, what it is Google says negotiations are ongoing that's seeking the same rate that services of a similar size get from NBCU and for YouTube to be treated like any other TV provider. Google added if it's unable to reach an agreement, it'll drop its U.S. prices by $10, bringing its price down from $64.99 to $54.99 while NBCU's lineup is off the service. Google says that customers are free to cancel anytime and can sign up for Peacock separately for $4.99 a month. Think about that. They can drop their price $10, and then you can go sign up for their other network that has all this stuff in it for $5 a month. Sounds like a smart move. Go ahead and drop them. NBCU is reportedly asking for higher rates, obviously, than Google is willing to pay, and wants YouTube TV to bundle NBC Peacock video streaming services. I think that it's time, and I hope YouTube stands its ground on this one. I hope they stand their ground and say, no, we're not paying more. And we'll drop it, we'll reduce the rates, and tell the customers to go sign up for Peacock on their own. I think that's a glorious idea. And then those of us that don't care about NBC programming don't have to pay for it. The days of a la carte are not here yet. We're still being forced to buy bundles. Now, no one says you have to buy YouTube TV. You don't have to do that. If you want it, you get it. But is it necessary to be paying $64 a month and have 14 channels you don't care about? NBC can pack sand. Go away. I don't care. The sports package, I don't care. It can go away. Some of you sports fans, you're going to want those channels. But me, personally, I care less. I'll watch sports. I mean, if I'm in a bar and you're having a beer, I'll watch sports. But usually I don't know if the TV's live or recorded. I don't know who's playing, don't know who the players are. I could care less about it. I could care less about golf. I could care less about MSNBC. I don't even want to watch those news channels. I don't see anything on here except for maybe Sci-Fi. Maybe. That might be the only one I want to watch is Sci-Fi. That's it. Where there's a will, there's a way on that. So that's amazing. $10 drop in price just by getting rid of NBC. Very, very cool. All right, so this one's kind of an interesting one. It's kind of comical. So you go up and spend millions. Well, actually, one person spends millions of dollars for the SpaceX Inspiration 4. And you get into orbit, and all of a sudden, the toilet fan malfunctions. Well, what is a toilet fan, may you ask? Well, a toilet fan essentially, how should we say it, sucks your debris down the toilet versus letting it float around. Apparently they had an issue with the fan, and they had to work with the ground folks to get that fan working again so that the toilet would suction would work. Can you imagine it not working? Boy, that could have been pretty. So there's always a backup. It's called a BAG, a bag. But anyway, Isaacman said that the Inspiration crew had previously talked to some NASA astronauts about the toilet. And the astronauts told them that using the bathroom as space is hard. And you got to be very, what was the word? Very kind to one another. Because after all, you're essentially spam in a can. You guys are very close to one another. Now, when I used to fly in the Navy, there was 24 of us in an aircraft that essentially had a honey bucket. And there was a, you hoped, a black trash bag in the honey bucket. That's what you hope. Sometimes there was only clear. Yes, gross. But anyway, yes, I could imagine it would be very challenging. Said we were able to work through it and get the toilet going even with what was initially challenging circumstances. So there was nothing ever like, in a cabin or anything like that. So they didn't have any poo floating around. So that's where you're like, the toilet's broke? No more eating. Drinking. So I'm sure SpaceX will work on the design of their toilet to make sure the fan works in the future. But yeah, no, you can't call a plumber. You got to do it yourself. You got to admit it's pretty comical. And so the makeup of the crew, they kind of pretty uncomfortable. 2 men and 2 women. So everyone, turn your back, please. How do you have privacy? Really, how do you have privacy? You don't. There's no privacy. You just have to look out the window. That's probably the best way to solve that. While I have some great stories. I can't tell on this show, but I have some great stories about flying in airplanes and bathroom situations, I guess we'll say. It's not like flying on an airliner where you have a nice flushable toilet. Even then, it can be challenging. All right, MacBook Air with upgraded Apple Silicon could arrive in 2022. Well, I hope so. I hope the MacBook Pro and everything comes with the new Silicon at some point. So, mass production of the new laptop, the MacBook Air with Apple Silicon, is expected to begin late in the second quarter, early third quarter of next year. So maybe in August, if you're looking to do a Mac Air upgrade, you'll have a M chip in there from Apple. So we'll see. Also, over at AndroidCentral.com, they've got a list of the best cheap 4K TVs. And I'm going to be honest with you. I have a few TVs here in the studio, and I don't think they're TCLs. They're inexpensive, and they do a decent job from a picture's perspective. But best overall is the Samsung Crystal UHD AU8000 series. The best from Amazon is a Toshiba C350 4K UHD Smart Fire TV. Best for Roku is a TCL 50S535 QLED Roku TV. And best for Dolby Experience is a Hisense U6G 4K QLED. So anyway, we've got a list of these here, of the different ones and the pros and cons of them and how much they cost and all that. But, I don't know if there's such thing as absolutely meaning cheap, but some of them are a lot more expensive than others. That's for sure. Moving on to a topic we haven't talked about in a long time is about it's about basically these pirating verdicts that have been going on. We know that internet provider Cox Communication back in 2019 was served $1 billion verdict for basically not enforcing takedown notices and so forth. So, and we know that they've been on the sharp end of several privacy lawsuits. And of course, the biggest one again was 3 years ago with the $1 billion verdict. But now, a few days ago, Cox attorneys asked for permission to intervene in the lawsuit several music companies filed against rival ISP Charter. The case is pretty similar to the Cox lawsuit. In both cases, ISPs are accused of failing to disconnect subscribers who were repeatedly flagging as copyright infringers. And the copyright infringement notices are key evidence in both cases. Those notices were sent by Mark Monitor, which monitored which pirated files were being shared through BitTorrent. To confirm that these files were indeed pirated, they were downloaded and verified by Audible Magic's fingerprinting technology. But it may have been recreated evidence. The alleged infringing files were censored to prove direct copyright infringement. During the Cox trial, the music companies presented a hard drive that contained the files, suggesting that those were the original songs that were pirated between 2012 and 2014. But, however, based on information service in the Charter lawsuit, Cox now believes that this hard drive evidence was recreated at a later date. This information wasn't disclosed at trial, and Cox accuses the music companies of misrepresented key evidence. It appears the plaintiffs failed to produce to Cox certain documents related to key exhibit underlying plaintiffs showing of direct infringement. A hard drive allegedly containing contemporary downloaded files from the plaintiff claims were infringed upon by Cox subscribers. But the hard drive itself was created in 2016. So how was media downloaded onto that same drive in 2012 and 2014? They didn't say it was copied to the drive. They said it was downloaded to the drive. As proof, based on evidence from the Charter case, Cox now believes that the files were not downloaded and verified when the infringement notices were sent, but years later. Discovering this action has revealed a strong likelihood that plaintiffs and Cox's concealed materials and information that would have demonstrated all the files on hard drives were downloaded in 2016 and not as contemporaneously verification of alleged infringement before the notices were sent in 2012, 2014. They want to vacate the $1 billion verdict. So it's all on technicalities at this point. So we will see where this goes. Brad, thanks for the mention on the new shirt. Yep, it's here's what it is. When I travel, and I go by a place that has a PGA store. Now, Atlanta had a PGA store, and if in Vegas there's a PGA store, they sell polo shirts, mostly golf shirts, at ridiculously reduced prices. They by far is the best deals of any place I've ever found shirts. Now, this one is an Adidas polo shirt, and I think it was like $19 versus like the original price of like $65. So whenever I go by a PGA store, I always pick up 4 or 5 polos to replace ones that have gotten old. So if you're ever going through an airport, and it's the only place I know that they have them, and you go by a PGA store, duck your head in, leave room in your packing bag because they have the best deals. All right, thanks for a comment, Brad. I appreciate it. Jeff Bezos has announced that Blue Origin has its next 2 New Shepard passengers to visit space. 2 entrepreneurs will take the short trip to microgravity next month. So who's it? The second crewed flight will be carrying former NASA engineer Chris Boshazin, who is also co-founder of satellite imaging company Planet Labs, along with Glenn DeVries, an entrepreneur and executive with the French software company Dassault Systems. So those are the next 2 contestants on the Blue Origin Ride is Right. So they all paid for the ticket price to go into microgravity. and get a short three. I think money's better spent at this time with SpaceX than Blue Origin, but what am I to know? Probably more expensive, though. Electric car company Polestar is going to go public via a special SPAC, a SPAC. And apparently Leonardo DiCaprio is an investor. So they've got a special acquisition company, a SPAC, that is already listed. And that's how they're going to go public via reverse merger with a so-called blank check company. By merging with a company backed by billionaire and serial SPAC backer Alec Gores and investment banker Guggenheim Partners. Boy, I'm destroying all these. Polestar says it will have an enterprise value of $20 billion. The deal will also net Polestar a lot of cash, $800 million from a trust account and $250 million cash from the private investment and public equity financing anchored by top-tier institutional investors. So we'll see where this goes. But Polestar, another electric car company looking to compete with Tesla and all the others out there. So people are on the move with these electric vehicles. The United States Space Force, I always crack up when I hear that, awards $87.5 million. It brings back connotations of movies. But anyway, Space Force awards $87.5 million to Rocket Lab, SpaceX, Blue Origin in ULA for next-gen rocket testing. We've talked about that, rocket engine testing and upper stage improvements. So they all get about $20 million each. Well, Blue Origin, United, and Rocket Labs all get $24 million. SpaceX get $14 million for combustion stability analysis and testing of its Raptor rocket engine. So, regarding new award, Rocket Lab CEO Peter Beck said in a statement that it is a vote of confidence in the Neutron rocket. We build a trusted launch system with Electron, and we'll do again with Neutron to continue to provide unfettered access to space with new, heavier lift vehicles. Well, have you been seeing the heavy lift vehicle Elon Musk is making? If they succeed to get that thing off the ground, game change for everything. It's going to be incredible. A little bit of interesting news on the investment market. Mobile spyware is supposed to be and is an invasive thing going on right now. It targets all kinds of unregulated surveillance. It can track where you go, who you see, and what you talk about. But there's a new Y Combinator-backed startup. It's a building app with the aim to helping anyone identify potential mobile spyware on the phone. It's called Malloc, M-A-L-L-O-C, a Cyprus-based early-stage company. Now, here's what's interesting about this announcement. 3 ladies are running this. Malloc's co-founder, Liz Sarmobus, Maria Terzi, and Artemis Contu are the 3 ladies that have formed the company. And some congratulations. Love to see this kind of activity, a woman-led company in the tech space. It's fantastic. So congratulations to them. And how much money did they get? Did they say? It didn't say how much the investment was. But nice to see it. And that's kind of what triggered me to talk about it, was the three co-founders being women. So congratulations to them. Hospitals say cyber attacks are increasing death rates and delay patient care. A new report surveyed healthcare organizations about their experiences. And there's enough impact from ransomware and patient care that it's undeniable, says Ed Gade, CEO and founder of CensusNet. We should not be afraid to look at this data and to keep pushing on the question. The analysis conducted by a research institute called the Pun Moon Institute collected survey responses from nearly 600 healthcare organizations. Just over 40% said they had a ransomware attack in the last 2 years. Cyber attacks that freeze up computer systems. Around 70% of the group facing ransomware attacks said that those disruptions led to longer hospital stays for patients and delayed tests or procedures. In addition, 36% said they saw more complications from medical procedures, and 22% said they had increased death rates. Well, don't ever be hospitalized, for God's sakes, when a ransomware attack's going down in a hospital, because you're obviously going to have a higher risk of not getting out of there alive. So we know cyber attacks have been bad, but if you think about hospital infrastructure and all those IP connected devices, it's just not surprising that those devices are security nightmares, really, to be honest with you. They never were thought to be an item they would have to secure, and much of this equipment is older. Replacing it is very, 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 very expensive. I think about some of the electronic test gear. Now, you think about heart monitors and all this stuff that are used in the hospitals are tied into the networks. When I was in the Navy and was working with test gear, some test gear that we had was to replace it was $250,000. It was $250,000 for a new box. And those boxes would have, the boxes we had were not IP connected. The new ones we did get, and some of them weren't that expensive, 40, 60, maybe 25,000. Still, everything came, the new stuff come all IP connected, but it was largely super inaccessible unless you knew code or had programs written for it. It didn't come like with pretty GUI software. That didn't happen. It was all still pretty highly technical and written in code languages that, so it's kind of the same way with hospital equipment. Not to mention the computers, but just the gear. And so long story short, it's not surprising hospitals have been under significant attack over the years. LinkedIn is testing a new paid ticketed event service. So they want to bring more original content engagement to its platform, and they're trying to bring events, paid events, to LinkedIn. And a few select folks have been giving access to this, and they can sell tickets and organizing an event, have a dashboard like monitor how sales are going, and then, of course, hold the events themselves right on LinkedIn. So that's an interesting move by the LinkedIn team, and we'll see where this develops over time. RIP Android TV remote app. Hello, Google TV remote app. A better remote app is taking its place, quote unquote. Google is killing its older Android TV remote. Of course, this move follows the company's launch of its long-awaited Google TV remote app last week. And so basically, Google says, we're making the experience of using your phone as a virtual remote control faster access and easier to use by upgrading the UI, integrating the direct feature directly into the Android mobile OS, as well as the Google TV app. After the remote feature is widely available, the Android TV remote app will no longer be supported and available to use. So the new remote is available to Android users from quick settings or through Google TV app. So I've never played with it, so I guess I'll have to check it out. Landsat 9, yes, we're still launching Landsats, has become the 2000th rocket launch from Vandenberg Space Base. So a milestone was reached today with the 2000th launch. And Landsat 9 will work in tandem with predecessor Landsat 8 to extend a nearly 50-year record of land and coastal region observation that began with the launch of the first Landsat in 1972. And they've been tracking. I actually found an article, and I don't know if I have it in sequence here, but it talks about the different Landsat images over the years and how it's watched different areas and what there sees happening on Earth. So I have that link up in the show notes as well. All right, those of you in the UK, listen up. Police have issued an urgent warning after an elderly man was scammed out of £30,000 by phone fraudsters pretending to be from British Telecom. The incident happened last Thursday, prompting West Marica police to issue a bulletin warning to be on the guard against suspicious phone calls. In this case, the victim was called with the perpetrators pretending to be from BT. They then asked him to download an application on his mobile phone, log into his bank account, and then they ripped him off for $30,000. So this is older people are susceptible to these things. Please, please, please. I ask you this on a periodic basis. Please tell your older people, the older elderly relatives you have, friends, to not ever, 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 ever install an app someone asks you to do over the phone, and for God's sake, never log into your bank account ever for someone on the phone. When in doubt, call your bank. or call the company directly. Never, ever talk to some scammer. These folks are mostly out of India, and they're hitting a payday with these people, stealing lifetime savings and so forth. Devastating 30,000 pounds for this elderly person. If you want to know what's new on Amazon Prime, well, I've got the link. What's new in October. And a whole series of things that are coming up on Amazon Prime. I haven't been watching any movies on Amazon Prime in a while. It's just in Netflix too. Haven't been on it very much. Mostly on just watching YouTube stuff. More SpaceX news. SpaceX Crew Dragon to perform first space station fly around in November. This will be the first fly around since the retirement of the space shuttle by a U.S. spacecraft. So this has been a long time. The Soviets have been flying around the International Space Station all the time. But this will be the first time a U.S. United States space platform will be doing that. So we'll keep an eye out for those images coming from SpaceX probably in November. All right. NASA's asked for a new bus to drive astronauts to their moon rocket. But agency might not like the suggestions coming in via Twitter. So again, NASA's asked to replace the Astrovan. And the ideas that have been put forth so far are some stuff that's been put out from Twitter. Oh my gosh. Spaceballs comedy, put some wings on a bus. All kinds of ideas, steampunk transport, the Wienermobile, multi-pedal bicycle, horse and carriage, lots of things to be done. Of course, Tesla's already got it solved, but they want a bus. So what should NASA get? I think they need to refurb the one they have and just keep on using that. Oh, yeah. Here's the Landsat, some of the Landsat images. And for those of you watching the live show, you can see 1990. This is a picture of, I think, Lake Mead. Is that where it is? Is that where we're looking at? You can see the lake dry up from 99 to 21. Oh, no, it's Lake Powell Reservoir in Lower Colorado River. So, yeah, pretty dry. So link will be up in the show notes. You can check that out, obviously. Okay, massive fireball soared over North Carolina at 32,000 miles per hour, caught on video. Of course, everyone's cameras are pointing outside the windows, caught the fireball. Happened around 7:40 p.m. and was one of at least 5 fireballs seen over the U.S. in the same night. So we had a bit of a meteorite shower, and some of them were a little bigger than others. So it's pretty cool. It lasts about a second or two, and it's done. But link will be up for you to take a look at. Hold myself back from sneezing. Roblox, Roblox, and music publishers have settled a $200 million copyright lawsuit. This comes on the back of another one that was done with Twitch. So the NNPA and Roblox have settled, and we know that NNPA that they'd settled with Twitch as well. Don't know how much money, but they've come up with some sort of agreement. I don't even know who Roblox is, and I have no idea what that website or that company is associated with at all. But they're always looking to cash in for infringers. Film studios are also in the suing business. They sued No Log's VPN provider for $10 million. So dozens of movie production companies have sued Liquid VPN this year over the VPN provider's marketing efforts that could be perceived as promoting piracy. Companies which are now seeking $10 million damages claim that no log policy of Liquid VPN is not a valid excuse, as the VPN provider actively choose not to keep logs. And of course, they had some marketing that kind of went around with it. They say it's a DMC-free zone. We don't have the ability to forward DMC notices. They do port forwarding. They do no leaky torrents. They have a detailed privacy policy where they just basically, say they don't collect anything. They didn't show up in court, unfortunately. And Liquid VPN's website, forward-facing website, is still is not available right now, but the app seems to be continuing to work. So I don't know if they're going to be able to run and hide from obscurity or not. In a bombshell report over The Verge, purportedly, the CIA developed plans to kidnap Julian Assange per information that's been obtained. Now, this is kind of scary. The CIA actively developed plans to kidnap or assassinate WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange during his seclusion in London's Ecuadorian embassy. Now, that might have been kind of hard. According to a new detailed report from Yahoo News, scenarios included abducting Assange from the embassy, intercepting a Russian effort to extract him, or an outright assassination attempt. While none of the operations were ever approved, they paint an alarming portrait of intelligence agencies' ongoing obsession with WikiLeaks and its controversial founder. Yahoo cites conversations with more than 30 former U.S. officials, among those 8 providing details on the plans to kidnap him. Well, how about Edward Snowden? What was the plans for him? That's what I'd like to see. He's the real culprit in all this. Did you sleep well? Well, recently we were visited by another asteroid, a warehouse-sized asteroid, snuck up on Earth by hiding near the sun. It was a pretty big boulder, 53,000 miles per hour. The space rock as wide as a football field flew between the moon and the Earth last week, and they didn't even know it flew through until it was on the outbound. And this one was big. It was 53,000 miles per hour, 85,295 kilometers per hour. And it passed around 153,000 miles. And, of course, if it had entered Earth's atmosphere, it would have been a bad day for wherever this thing had hit, and probably several hundreds of miles around it. So NASA hopes to fix that when it launches its NEO survey spacecraft in 2026, which will be parked at a spot in space between Earth and the sun, so we can detect the objects we can't see from there. Except, what are we going to do when we see it? That's the question of the day. Skype has a new design coming, a colorful redesign, new features, and performance upgrades. Well, Zoom is probably making a major impact on them. So I would foresee this is probably one thing they're going to do. They're going to have stage calls, basically where you can have more, like multiple people on a video call. Video feeds can be rearranged into grid to avoid relegating folks to a minimized view, kind of like a Zoom grid. Interesting. So anyway, I still like Skype a lot. Rob and I still use it here for the new media show. For those of you watching, this is very annoying. This is why I won't be covering this article. This is what I see from the Washington Post. I haven't been to the Washington Post. I don't think we've had an article from them in more than a month. As soon as I get there, it says, read more when you register. No credit card, no obligation. Enter your email address. No, I'm not. And then you're just going to spam me for weeks on end. But I guess the crux of the article was Tesla owners can now request a full self-driving beta. I don't know. They've covered up the title. I don't know. But if you own a Tesla, you can check out if you are in the running for a full self-driving something. So I'm not going to subscribe. I'm not going to enter my email address. No, thank you. And they got a whole thing up. Get 1 year for $40. Sign in. 3 or 4 places here they're marketing to me on the same page. It's thoroughly disgusting. It really is. Serve me ads. TikTok now has 1 billion monthly users after a very crazy year. The app hits its biggest milestone yet. So nearly 5 years after Twitter shut down Vine, TikTok has reached the coveted 1 billion monthly active user mark. It's crazy. TikTok is the place to be right now. It's amazing. And we know that, a year ago, the administration was threatening to ban the app. So, and of course, the app's only been widely available since 2018, and people are becoming TikTok famous. Again, that app, if you've never used it, is the first ever created time machine. I'm just telling you straight up. That's what it is. Amazon delivery staff denied bonus paid by artificial intelligence. Cameras are misjudging their driving, and the workers are pissed. They say when people pull in front of them or cut them off, and they brake hard, they're getting dinged by their AI when it's not even their own fault. He says, I don't mind getting pinged when I make a mistake, but when I am being falsely accused of bad driving and being docked bonus money, then I demand, that the company basically give us some means to protest. Amazon says, we'll look at all that and look at any issues, but I don't think it's really happening. Well, it sounds like the AI is determined. As soon they'll be giving us tickets, right? This was a sub-article to this register one. A startup, and this has nothing to do with the Amazon delivery, and it's not even in our show notes. A startup called Modulate is helping people alter their voices by using machine learning software that automatically adjusts the sound of one's speech. It's being tested by some folks that are gaming who are trying to alter their voices, maybe where people are gaming and maybe they're basically where the pitch of their voice doesn't match their gender identities. I guess that's the best way to describe it. Some want to sound more feminine, some want to sound more masculine, but this is interesting. We're going to have to check Modulate out. I just happened to see it below this article from Amazon as I was doing the show prep today, so we'll keep an eye out for that one. Coinbase is diving deeper into banking by letting users deposit paychecks into their accounts and automatically converting that into cryptocurrency. I don't know about that. You just want to automatically convert on money you put in your account? That seems to be a fool's errand to me, to automatically have them convert it into cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrencies are doing this all the time. They're more wild than the stock market. If you're thinking about an iPhone 13, they're going to take longer to reach customers, analysts are saying. So the iPhone 13 supply chain has huge delays and strong demand are leading to the longest wait times for phone in recent years. So anywhere between 19 and 34 days in the second week compared to 7 to 20 days in the first week, both greater than the lead times for the iPhone 12 series. That's not as bad. The iPad lead time was months, not days. In relation to that article earlier about Facebook, Facebook said they rebutted the report alleging Instagram is harmful to teens. I'm not even going to go into this article. I'll let you read it, see what you think. Hubble is back in the news. Hubble telescope helps find 6 dead galaxies from the early universe. The discoveries raise as many questions as they answer. You'd think large galaxies in the early universe would have plenty of fuel left for new stars, but a recent discovery suggests that wasn't always the case. Astronomers using the Hubble Space Telescope and the Atacama Large Millimeter Sublimiter Array have found 6 dead galaxies about 3 billion years after the Big Bang that were unusually dead. That is, they'd run out of cold hydrogen necessary for star formation. That was the peak period for starburst. They've expanded, but not through star creation. Well, maybe aliens did something. Who knows? But link will be up in the show notes for that for you to review. Kill that one. Oh, here's the actual article. What is that? Here is the actual article that I couldn't get from the Washington Post. Tesla opens full self-driving beta software to more customers. Okay, there's the title that I I couldn't read from Washington Post. So, Kirk, I know you're listening. Don't link to the Washington Post article. They're being naughty. Link to The Verge. Okay, so let me go back. We're close to the end of the show. As I said, we had a full stack today. Good job for all the content finds. And I think that's all I've got. There was no email that come in. So you guys, if you want to drop a note about today's show, geeknews@gmail.com, geeknews@gmail.com. For those of you that are insiders, thank you for being an insider. geeknewscentral.com/insider. Of course, those of you that are supporting our sponsor by picking up products from GoDaddy, we definitely appreciate it when you do. Thank you so very much. Regular show on Thursday. And I'm going to try to start a little early because the podcast awards happen at 9. So I want a little more than an hour between the show ending here and then the awards kicking off. And then from there, I leave for Honolulu on Sunday. Kirk is going to do the show Monday and Thursday of next week. And then I will be back on the normal schedule the following week. So we'll have Kirk as a guest host next week, but a regular show from me on Thursday. But we're going to wrap this up. Going to get out of here. I want to thank everyone for being here. Thanks for staying subscribed. Thank you for following. However you're listening to the show or watching, I definitely appreciate it. If you have comments, again, geeknews@gmail.com is a place to send those comments and your commentary, positive or negative. Thank you so much. But until next time, everyone, take care. We'll see you on the next show. Everyone stay safe. Take care of one another. Watch out for your family members, your pets, and so forth. We'll see you next time. Bye-bye.